Compassion may be the milk of charity, but a well-articulated vision and organization are the indices that guarantee effectiveness. Aspire Coronation Trust ACT Foundation is a grant-making non-profit organization established in 2016 to support local, national, and regional non-profit organizations working to address challenges and associated vulnerabilities across the African continent. Our work factored from the SDGs formulated for global best practices ensure that we can affect our societies in ways that ensure a cascade of knowledge, interest, and development long after we are gone. This we are doing by fostering ownership as we drive sustainable impact within our communities. Our interests, as evidenced, span health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. In channeling resources to the organizations we fund, ACT Foundation is committed to developing and strengthening them to ensure sustainability through organizational development, monitoring and evaluation, impact measurement, board governance, and support. The objective is to guarantee the delivery of effective and efficient outcomes to the beneficiaries.
When we started off, one of the things that we wanted to do was to make sure that the organizations we're working with, it was not really about just giving them money to go and resources to go and solve problems, but we wanted to partner with them as well to make sure that in the long term, we're building sustainable organizations. You can see the difference in terms of the growth of the organizations, but also in terms of the solutions to problems that the challenges the different communities are facing.
Dustbin Village, a rural and underserved area in Lagos, home to over 550,000 people. Rufina's vision was becoming a burden. She hugged the television set like her life depended on it. The classroom was not any better. But through the intervention superintended by Vision Spring and Catholic Opticals, working with ACT Foundation, Rufina now has her eyeglasses.
When she was looking at TV, she would go very close to the screen. Then I asked her some questions. Are you not seeing well? Good enough. Their teachers at school noticed this problem. I was making arrangements, trying to put up, because I know how much this glass I'm wearing, how much it cost me.
Before I got the glasses, I felt miserable, frustrated. I felt handicapped, like I was missing out in everything that the teacher was saying.
Since she got this glass, that report is no longer there.
I feel great. At least anything that the teachers they are writing on the board, or if they're making an illustration on the board. Wow, with this glass, I'm able to do better in my study.
Considering my lame pocket, when you look at this place now, you see that a man of 3 kids, that one has saved me some money, which I should have spent to procure a glass for her.
From the depths of my heart, I want to say a big thank you to Art Foundation of Vision Spring for giving me the opportunity to be able to see the world differently.
Basically, what we said is if we can go into communities with their sponsorship and support, we can screen all Nigerians to ensure that we kick out refractive error and presbyopia. And they sponsored 7,500 glasses, and we screened about 16,000 plus Nigerians, including people in the Dustbin village.
At the end of the project, we were able to give glasses to 7,659 people, women and children.
People want us to give, beneficiaries 70,000. Indirect is another number of thousands. But we do a lot of monitoring. So all the programs we've done last year, we are doing the monitoring and evaluating of the programs right now, because we want to be sure that really the effects that we claim are really happening is what is happening.
The Fitch International Evaluation Report on Economic Performance in 2016 reveals that more than 55% of the youths are either unemployed or underemployed.
The solutions in terms of getting them started on a business is sometimes so overwhelming, and we try as much as possible to find organizations that are working and creating hands-on solutions.
Entrepreneurship is one of the solutions to reducing poverty, as it is a medium to improve the quality of life for individuals, families, and communities, and also sustain a healthy economy and environment. During this period, 84 female entrepreneurs in Lagos State and 2,000 secondary school students in Ogun and Oyo states have gone through a rigorous entrepreneurial training. Olatunji Olamilekan is a young man who is redirecting his vision. He grew up in the Olaleye community. It's another rural and underserved area of Lagos State. Raised alongside his younger sisters, Olatunji's mother took ill in 1999 and later died.
The promise I made to my mom, I just have to keep going. And the only thing that always kept me back to the track then is this education of the thing, like, this is my agreement with my mom. That was a dying wish.
Olatunji surmounted serious hardships, but still found himself at the crossroad of unemployment.
So now I actually went to the school and nothing is still happening. So, you know, that was what actually kept me moving ever since. That was that one goal that actually went there. Now I've obtained the goals, then what else?
With some of his friends dead or unaccounted for, he needed to toe the straight and narrow, and the vocational skill acquisition project of Freedom Foundation, supported by ACT Foundation, presented the needed opportunity.
I saw them pass by in the, like a rally, so they give me a flyer, and I read the flyer and I say like, okay, skill acquisition stuff, and I had to call one of them and say, please come. Are you sure this is free? And they say, yeah, of course it is. Like, we're not paying for it.
I see him as someone who will grow in it. I see him as someone that is patient, someone that has focus. So that's why I decided to retain him. It's going to be useful for me.
The grant has really helped us a lot because we've been able to reach out to over 500 people in communities in Surulere and Etiosa local government. And also we've heard so many interesting stories from people who were orphans, people who didn't have any means of livelihood, and they've been able to be empowered through this program. And some of them have gone on to start their own businesses, and some of them are now working and they're earning a living.
We're teaching hands-on enterprise, but also in terms of capacity building. So if you start a business, you can actually take it to the next level.
Through ACT Foundation's entrepreneurship intervention, 438 youths have received skills acquisition training, business management training for 60 budding entrepreneurs, employability training for 293 out-of-school youths in Yaba local government area, Lagos State. Henry Anumudu was a communication and media liaison officer at a media organization in the capital city of Abuja. Henry left his media career and applied for the Teach for Nigeria Fellowship in 2017.
I saw firsthand the crisis of education in Nigeria, and I was personally challenged to come into the system and try to see what good I can do.
After going through a 6-week training, where he learned teaching techniques and aids which would ensure children got maximum benefits from classroom learning, Henry was posted to Ebenezer Primary School in Abeokuta, where he teaches primary 5 pupils.
Being in the classroom has given me certain skills that are important for leadership: listening, patience, communication, being able to work under certain kind of pressures, to be able to also with my co-teachers, being able to create a working relationship with them, it's important because it can define your impact on the pupils. And that has also made me to be able to, work with others.
It was the one that made us to have press club in the school, which we have started today, and I was impressed during the assembly. He coordinated it, he explained, and the pupils per se, they are the one that read the news.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, said that we should not use plastic bag, but we should use paper bag to manage our waste.
The best definition for me for leadership is the person who decides or does the right thing at the right time. If you have that kind of person in such a system, whatever the inequity is or the challenge is, they will definitely solve that problem. So the best way we have thought about addressing or meeting our vision someday is placing the right leaders in the classroom. And that's the summary of what the whole fellowship is all about.
What you see that they've done, you can't really talk about the solutions for the next few years. It's very long term. But they were also using the younger generation to go back into the schools to do something that changes the life and the value system of the kids.
Doyisola Ogunye is a thoroughbred professional. As CEO of Medic, she is the driving force behind the Kids for Clean Seas initiative to schools in the Etiosa local government area axis.
We started the Kids for Clean Seas because we decided to take it back to the grassroots and to the children. We took the project Kids for Clean Seas to 16 schools across Etiosa, and we're letting them know that if you clean your environment, your immediate environment, you're actually making the oceans cleaner, because every litter that is dropped on the floor usually gets into the canals, and from the canals it finds its way to the waterways, and from the waterways it gets into the ocean. What happens after that is the fish we eat this plastic and gets into our own digestive system and into our bloodstream as well, causing a lot of illnesses that we don't even know about yet. So the most important thing is to nip it in the bud and let the children understand the importance of recycling, the importance of keeping their environment clean, and overall the importance of saving the planet from plastic pollution. At age 10, he's ready to start gathering children together to talk to them about what he has learned. He's ready all the time to lend a helping hand to what we're doing on the beach, in schools, and even at home. And I believe that in the next 10 years, Israel will definitely be a force to reckon with when it comes to taking care of the environment.
I started picking these PET bottles when I saw my sister picking it all around places. And I said, let me join. I'll be telling my friends that if they have any bottle that they want to throw away, and they will recycle it.
It was disturbing me. Mommy, I want to go with my sisters. I want to go.
Through the program, the school was given an award, and I myself, I have to. When your environment is clean, you will live more comfortably.
Some women are now able to sustain themselves through avenues created by this initiative. Kids have also imbibed a positive attitude towards the environment and will take this with them into the future. Through our grantees, ACT Foundation was able to reach 18 communities, 18,000 people, and 26 public schools. In addition, 45 trees were planted and 34,450 recyclables generated.
My son had come back from school once, and he started explaining, we had to recycle, you can't use this to cook, you can't do this anymore. And I was just like, gosh, because it changes your habits, what you are used to doing for the last 20, 30 years.
ACT Foundation is grateful to our partners and sponsors for trusting us.
Without Access Bank, and especially Mr. Herbert Wigwe, we won't be where we are. The backing they give you is second to none. And then of course, we also allowing us to do what we know how to do. gives you a spirit to soar. Africa is the melting point for us. The story of Africa is also always told in a very negative way. And as an indigenous grant-making organization, we want people to also understand that we can be a solution to the problems that we are facing. We, as Africans, have to change and solve the problems that we have.
The Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation is a grant-making organization established in 2016 to support local, national, and regional non-profit organizations working to address challenges and related vulnerabilities across Africa. Our vision: to leverage relationships to create effective social impact solutions across Africa. Our mission: to build sustainable societies by engaging initiatives that unleash potentials and empower beneficiaries. ACT Foundation supports sustainable, high-impact initiatives that provide innovative solutions to social, economic, and environmental challenges in Africa. In our 4-year journey, we have funded 75 organizations across 800 African communities. Over 1.9 million people provided with critical interventions in the following 4 focus areas: health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. From 36 health interventions, we have impacted 328,283 plus people. The Foundation's work is in line with the Goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which is geared towards facilitating better healthcare services and outcomes for the underdeserved and low-income groups in communities across Africa. Our health interventions through our implementing partners are focused on cancer, maternal and child health, malaria. In the areas of entrepreneurship, from 28 interventions, we have impacted 17,015 plus people. Working directly with Sustainable Development Goal 1, No Poverty, and Goal 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth. To achieve this goal, the Foundation supports initiatives in the following areas: vocational skills acquisition, financial inclusion and literacy education. In the areas of environment, from 12 interventions, we have impacted 47,833 plus people. We are focused on providing innovative solutions for waste management. We have created awareness on waste management, waste upcycling, recycling, and disposal. In the end, the Foundation aims to reduce the effect of improper waste management in communities across the region and encourage the reuse of certain waste materials. Another area supported by the Foundation concerning the environment is the promotion of clean water and sanitation. In the areas of leadership, from 16 interventions, we have impacted 1,525,353 plus people. We are continuously developing the leadership skills of individuals, particularly young people, for governance, economic, organizational, and professional development. To achieve this, the Foundation partners with organizations that focus on thought leadership and national development. We have reached 6 African countries. We contribute to capacity development within the non-profit and impact space and have conducted 30 plus capacity building trainings. 1,700 plus people reached through our annual Breakfast Dialogue multi-stakeholder conference.
At ACT Foundation, we believe that together we can make a difference.
The Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation is a grant-making organization established in 2016 to support local, national, and regional non-profit organizations working to address challenges and related vulnerabilities across Africa. Our vision to leverage relationships to create effective social impact solutions across Africa. Our mission to build sustainable societies by engaging initiatives that unleash potentials and empower beneficiaries. ACT Foundation supports sustainable, high-impact initiatives that provide innovative solutions to social, economic, and environmental challenges in Africa. In our 4-year journey, we have funded 75 organizations across 800 African communities. Over 1.9 million people provided with critical interventions in the following 4 focus areas: health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. From 36 health interventions, we have impacted 328,283 plus people. The Foundation's work is in line with the Goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which is geared towards facilitating better healthcare services and outcomes for the underdeserved and low-income groups in communities across Africa. Our health interventions through our implementing partners are focused on cancer, maternal and child health, malaria. In the areas of entrepreneurship, from 28 interventions, we have impacted 17,015 plus people. Working directly with Sustainable Development Goal 1, No Poverty, and Goal 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth. To achieve this goal, the Foundation supports initiatives in the following areas: vocational skills acquisition, financial inclusion and literacy education. In the areas of environment, from 12 interventions, we have impacted 47,833 plus people. We are focused on providing innovative solutions for waste management. We have created awareness on waste management, waste upcycling, recycling, and disposal. In the end, the Foundation aims to reduce the effect of improper waste management in communities across the region and encourage the reuse of certain waste materials. Another area supported by the Foundation concerning the environment is the promotion of clean water and sanitation. In the areas of leadership, from 16 interventions, we have impacted 1,525,353 plus people. We are continuously developing the leadership skills of individuals, particularly young people, for governance, economic, organizational, and professional development. To achieve this, the Foundation partners with organizations that focus on thought leadership and national development. We have reached 6 African countries. We contribute to capacity development within the non-profit and impact space and have conducted 30 plus capacity building trainings. 1,700 plus people reached through our annual Breakfast Dialogue multi-stakeholder conference.
At ACT Foundation, we believe that together we can make a difference.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. If you're just joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. My name is Elo Owade, and I am a Programs Associate at ACT Foundation. I'll be your host for today. I'm so glad to have everyone here and be able to gather again. Happy New Year. Today we're here because of a special series that today's a novel edition we're launching called Sector Insights, the ACT Foundation Sector Insights. It is a collaborative effort from us and other relevant stakeholders where we will be discussing relevant and broad-based topics that affect social sector actors. And so we're glad to also bring that to you today. I'm just going to go through some ground rules and then we can start immediately. Please give me a second to share my screen. Right. I hope everyone can see it. Okay, so first thing, please mute your mic when you're not speaking. If you're not speaking and your microphone is on, it can cause distractions during the session. So please ensure that your microphone is always muted. When you do unmute, please be mindful of the background noise. Try to listen from a quiet area if possible. If you are using your video feature, please position your camera properly. And if you'd like to speak, please use the raise hand feature first, and then we would ask that you speak so that multiple people are not speaking at the same time. If you'd like to answer a question, make a comment, please raise your hand, and then we would ask that you unmute and speak. Polls will be put up at different times during the session, so please participate and let us know what you think about what we're asking at every given point. Avoid multitasking as much as you can. I know it's hard. A lot of people are listening while working or doing other things, but if you can, please avoid multitasking so that the session can truly be beneficial to you and you can be able to implement the insights that you gather from here today. Lastly, take notes because you can't remember everything that will be shared here today. So I feel that that will help you to remember the valid points that you get and then implement in your organization. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just going to read a few messages from the chat. Hi, Mudupe from Society of Quality in Healthcare in Nigeria. Hi, Ignatius from South Sudan. Hello, June from Association of Mentors and Business Entrepreneurship Burundi. Nice to have you here, all the way from Burundi. Good morning, Fumi, Executive Director of Home and Street Kids Welfare Initiative in Ilorin, Kwara State. How are you doing in Kwara this morning? Good morning, Trudy, and good morning, everyone. You might want to text someone that was starting right away, especially if you know that what we're discussing today, which is systemic change, from charity to systemic change, which is very valuable in ensuring that our interventions or interventions that you're currently working on are sustainable and can truly lead to transformational change that we want to see. So we're going to officially open the curtains, and to do that, I'd like to introduce my CEO, the CEO of Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, to sort of give us an opening address for this session. Ma'am, are you in?
Good morning, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our program this year. And we're very excited to have every one of you here. And I know that I've spoken a lot today, but that Art Foundation, Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, this is our 5th year, and we're excited for the 5 years of impact and service that we've done. We keep on sending you messages over the next few weeks, talking to you about letting you know the different events that we're going to be having to celebrate our 5th year. But come and looking forward to listening and understanding what it means to move from charity to systematic change. And I'm welcoming everyone from Burundi, from Nigeria, from Abuja, and from different organizations as well. So it's really, really exciting to start this with something so fundamental, understanding what it means to change and not only talking about change, but systematic change. I'm hoping that we enjoy today, but not also that, but we have also an opportunity to ask questions and learn from each other. Enjoy the rest of the day and take care. Hello, we can't hear.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was saying thank you so much for your address. Just before we continue, I thought it would be great to just read a few more messages and also ask everyone if you could just respond in the chat. What are you hoping to get out of today's session? I'm going to read a few and hopefully you'll be able to meet your expectations. Good morning, Ufonshaw from Human Development Initiative. So please share your expectations with us. I'm going to read out a few and hopefully your expectations will be met in the session. Greetings from, hi Clement from Africa Community Tech Development Center. Good morning, Mrs. Anusi of Care Organization. Hi, Chibuzo Orame, Program Director, Diverse Health Initiative Nigeria. So no one has shared their expectations. So you're not expecting anything from us, so we can just close now. Hi, Jiffer Williams from Environmental Services. Okay, someone says my expectation is to learn and unlearn and relearn. Can't go wrong with that. Good morning, Kelechi Okezie, ED, Neighborhood Environment Watch Foundation. What's your expectation as you join the session? Hi, Mansour Hussain, Program Manager for Skills Foundation. What's your expectation as you join? We have 2 more minutes to do this before we start. Hi, Lunde. Okay, someone says, I expect to get workable models for achieving systemic change as we do charity work. That's great. I'm looking forward, someone else says, I'm looking forward to learning from the wealth of knowledge of facilitators. Okay, someone else says, my organization is about to launch out a social enterprise. So to learn how best to run it, that's great. My expectation is how to use charity to drive systemic change. I hope you get that today. Thank you so much, everyone, for your responses. And now we'll just move over to our next session, our next segment, sorry. We'd like to share a few things with you about ACT Foundation. And to do that is my Director of Grants and Programs here at ACT Foundation, Ms. Indifekel Kwebuna. So I'll be sharing my screen, so give me a minute.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon from different parts of the world. Thank you for making the time to join us today. We are really excited about the session that we're going to have today, and we trust that there's going to be a lot of learnings from it, so we can move from the doing to actually creating systemic change in our areas of passion in the work that we do. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and tell you a bit about our organization. For those who do not know who ACT Foundation is, for those who know a bit about ACT Foundation, this will be an opportunity to just give you a bit of insight on what we do, what we have done over the past few years. So most of you may know that ACT Foundation is a grant-making organization. We were established in 2016. We started operations in 2017. And our mandate is to support local, national, and regional non-profit organizations working to address challenges and vulnerabilities across the African continent. You would agree that Africa has a lot of problems. The world has a lot of problems. We are here to provide support through funding, through capacity building, to non-profits and social enterprises to ensure that we're able to solve problems on the continent. Our vision is to leverage relationships to create effective social impact solutions across Africa. What that means to us is that we are going to work with partners. We're going to partner with individuals, with organizations to ensure that we're able to achieve sustainable solutions on the continent. Our mission is to build sustainable societies by engaging in initiatives that unleash potential and empower beneficiaries. Our focus areas as an organization, we focus on funding and supporting issues around health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. In health, we focus on malaria interventions, cancer, breast, cervical, and prostate cancer, maternal and child health. These are the areas that we typically would focus our funding on, because these are the areas that we have believed over the past 5 years of our working has required urgent support. In entrepreneurship, our focus areas are vocational and skills acquisition initiatives, financial literacy, and financial inclusion. In leadership, our focus has been leadership development and thought leadership. In environment, we are focused on providing support in waste management and water and sanitation, so access to water and sanitation. Some of the things that we do, the support that we provide. And so apart from just providing grants, one of the major things that we do as a foundation is provide grants to organizations to implement initiatives across these areas that I've mentioned. You would not find the foundation implementing interventions, right? So we wouldn't go on the field and say we are implementing ourselves. In the past 5 years of our existence, we have reached over 2 million people on the continent. There's still a lot more to do. But for us as a foundation, we know that it is important that we partner with organizations that are working in communities already, whether they are NGOs or they are social enterprises, by providing them the funding that they require to implement these interventions. So that way we can reach many more people and actually have sustainable impact in the communities. Another way that we support the sector is through capacity building and trainings. For us, this has been something that over the years we have realized that is so critical to developing the social sector on the continent. If you give money and you don't provide the support for organizations to utilize that funds properly and implement interventions properly, you find that that money is just going down the hole. So for us, grant making is an investment. So capacity building is to ensure that the investment that we are making does not go to waste and actually adds value to the people that it is meant to reach. So we provide capacity building through trainings that we do. We have monthly trainings that we run. This year we are launching the Sector Insights, which is focusing on pertinent issues around sector issues, so social sector issues, development issues, while our trainings will be focused on building capacity in terms of things that we need to do to run our day-to-day activities in our different organizations. We found that these different things have come up over the years, and us providing this sort of support would help build the organizations in the sector. We also run a professional volunteer program. This at the moment is strictly for our grantees, because we realize that within the non-profit sector, there's so many skills that are required, and sometimes those skills are not readily available, and the private sector has an abundance of those skills, individuals getting trained at great institutions, and we want to tap into that knowledge and that skill from the people. So we have volunteer consultants from private sector organizations, public sector organizations, and the social sector that they've built over years, and they're willing to provide that absolutely free of charge, one-on-one or in groups, directly to our grantees. And we found it to be very beneficial, because then you can actually discuss your issues, the issues that you're facing within your organization, be it branding and communication, be it fundraising, be it strategic planning, whatever the issue is within your organization. We can find the right mentor to help, the right volunteer consultant to support you over a certain period of time. We also run an annual conference every year, which is our breakfast dialogue. We hope for those that haven't joined us before that you make time to join us. Last year we had over 20 different facilitators speaking on issues that affected the sector. And also we run a Changemakers Innovation Challenge. hopefully if you visit our website, you'll find a bit more about the innovation challenge. It's really for social enterprises and NGOs that are leveraging technology to amplify and implement the work that they are doing at a larger scale. So we encourage those of you that are here today to visit our website, learn a bit more about what we do. Our grant cycle opens annually, so the next grant cycle is going to be opening up in October, November of this year, and that is where we are going to start the process of receiving applications from people that have an interest in receiving funding from ACT Foundation. Finally, this is our 5th year and we're very excited about that. We're a young organization, but I think that we have done great things in the time that we have existed. We have learned lessons, we have made mistakes, we've learned lessons, we are constantly improving. So we are hoping that this year we'll be able to share with you the impact that we have made through the organizations that we have funded. And we hope that you join us at our breakfast dialogue this year, where you're going to be learning a lot more about us and joining us to celebrate our achievements in 5 years. Thank you very much, Elo. I think I'll leave it here for now so we can go right into the session. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy today. Get your sheets of paper together, get your notebooks, take notes. We are also going to be taking notes here because we are a learning organization. We are going to be learning. Thank you, Elo. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Andy, for that robust introduction of ACT and the work that we do. So right now we're going straight into our session. I'd like to introduce our facilitator for today. He has a background in banking and enterprise development and innovation. In general, you find him doing hard things. In 2015, he describes himself as a connector of people, ideas, and possibilities. And so it's no surprise that he leads the charge at Change.org Foundation, where he is helping people to galvanize change through digital advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Wale Ajiboye of Country Director for Change.org Foundation. Wale, you have the floor.
Thank you, Elo. And it's nice to be here. It was just interesting to hear Andy just talk about this is the 5th year ACT Foundation has been in existence, and it's incredible to see how much impact you've done in 5 years. I think that's where I'll summarize it. I still recall coming for your dialogue session maybe like 3 years ago. I think it was Intercontinental. It was just incredible to see the amount of energy, the amount of learning, and the commitment the foundation has done. I think these are the examples that we want in Nigeria. And I'm really so proud to be connected with you and the work you're doing. Kudos to your team. But thank you. Today, I'm just really going to talk a bit about, and it's great to meet everyone as well. I've been thinking a lot about, when Indifreke mentioned that, this session would happen. I was so excited because if you think about what we're seeing today in our world today, there's a bit confusing. And I say confusing in the sense that how can there be so much knowledge, so much technology, so much people claim to be, so much piety in the world. People say, oh, they believe in God, and yet there's so much pain, suffering, and people are marginalized. And in many ways, when we talk about system, people just, a lot of us just assume that, things are just, sometimes people just assume that things are just working by itself. But we don't understand that we are also part of that system. There's a mini system that's feeding into the larger system that we're seeing. So when we see issues around gender inequality, when we see issues about poverty, when we see issues around affordable housing not really being affordable, when you see wars happening and you see egos rising, there is something that is going on, but it's also a reflection of the system we have created. But today I'm not going to go into something really, we're not going to go into something deep and go into deep analysis. I just want to look at simple things of life that we want to, and just talk about a few things. So if you can move to the next slide, Elo. All right. So I'm just going to start with the definition of system, and I'm just really going to go into just something that all of us will just sign up to. So what is definition of system? A set of things working together as part of a mechanism or interconnecting network or complex whole. Next slide, please. So if you think about today, what is going on, and I think that, I always ask this question, that what's the difference between Miss, Mrs. and Mistress? And the reason I'm asking this question is just to help us to see how many things are happening around us that we have not really observed how it even came to be. And so maybe I'll just ask the first question: what's the difference between, who can really explain to us the difference between Miss, Mrs. and Mistress? And hello, you can just, I'm not able to see everyone on my screen, so
okay.
Please
If
feel
you'd like,
free.
sorry, if you'd like to speak, just raise your hand, and then I'll ask you to unmute.
Yeah.
Also going to be looking at the chat, so you can also respond in the chat.
Yes, you can also respond in the chat as well. Anyone?
Elvis, whose hands are raised. Elvis, you can unmute and speak. Elvis, are you there? We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Right. I said, for me, the difference between Miss, Mr. and Mistress, the first one is someone who has not yet been married, like still single, because when you look at, like, she is still missing, like she has not found someone to be with, so it can be defined as missing. And then Mr. and Mrs., it means two of them has become one, like a man and a woman has come together as one. So it becomes Mr. and Mrs. So they both share the Mr. and the Miss. So the Mr. and Mrs. becomes one. And then mistress. Mistress is more like someone, I think that's mistress, I don't know, but I feel it's someone who is not single, who is not married, but like it's not married, not single, and not even searching. I think that, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Why do you want to take somebody else? There's someone else with their hand raised.
Yes, and I'm seeing quite a bit of also, I'm seeing quite a bit of a lot of Funaya say Miss is generalized. Amos said Mistress is just an appellation. Mrs. is for married ladies. Okwayemi said Miss, not married Mrs. Married mistress engaged to a married man. Mr. is usually used for men. So thank you. Everyone is saying something, but maybe I'll just take one more and then I'll just jump into how systems get created, because it's just fascinating that we have different definitions. But the question is, who defined this thing for us? Who defined it, and how do you create? How the system force us to create this norm in such a way that people are excluded? So let me just take one more person. I'm seeing 4 participants raise their hands, so maybe you can take everyone quickly, and then we can move.
Okay, great. So Kelechi will go first. Tell us quickly what's the difference, and then.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. To me, MS is for a mature lady who is not yet married, or a divorcee, or somebody who is separated from their spouse. It can also, or somebody who is not, or who is divorced, yes, can use the appellate MS. MRS, Mrs., is for a woman who is married and is married to somebody, while mistress is for single ladies or someone who is in a relationship with a married man. So these are my definition of the 3 definitions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello, we see our 3 more people. We'll just take it quickly, 30 seconds, and then we can move.
Okay, so 30 seconds, Olubumi and Abiodun.
Good morning. This is Olubumi Francis. Okay. Well, generally, we believe that MS, otherwise called marriage suspended, is for single ladies. MRS is for married women, either by under the act or by tradition. While mistress is commonly known as side chick, side end, or a concubine. Thank you.
Okay, finally, Abiodun, please, 10 seconds if possible.
Okay, so for me, they would refer to exactly the same woman depending on how society views her based on her relationship with a man, and that the same standards are not accorded to man. So it will always be Mr. whatever his status is in relationship to a woman.
Thank you, Abby. And you're absolutely right. I'm absolutely right. It's so interesting that you also picked that out quickly, Abby, because you just said that it's applied to women, but it's not applied to men. Why is it that we're not having different things? But let me just say something real quick. And thank you all for all your contribution and also all the comments in the group chat. The question is, you're all right. In many ways, you're all right. The only difference is that what century are you referring to? Because if you talk about the 16th, 17th, 18th century, it means different. It's different from what we have today. Because in the past, Miss, Mrs., mistress means the same thing. So master. So the same way they say master, before you can be called a master in the 18th to 19th century, you're a master because you're a captain of industry. You are a captain of industry. Let me say that again. It means that if you're successful, if you're very successful and you've made a lot of money, people would give you they'll give you a title and they will have a respect for you to call you that. If as a woman as well, the same way they will call you a mistress because you are the captain of industry. And these are reports you can read. There are many variants of it, but if you check Wikipedia, you will see different variants of what is. People also, the meaning, can you go to the next slide, please? Hello, please. So mistress is the root word for all of this abbreviation, Mrs. and Miss, just as Mr. is an abbreviation of master. The ways the word derived from mistress have developed their own meaning is very fascinating. Exactly what Abby was talking about. How come we don't have it for men and we have it for women? So in the past, Mrs., mistress, Miss didn't matter because you were only seen from the angle of your skill, contribution to society, and you are accorded that respect. So I'll tell you a little story of how that changed and how mistress became something more derogatory. And so if you look at in the past, when you see someone who's married into a wealthy family, and this really started from the English tradition. If you're married to a family where you think that your family, your husband's family has a better name, has a better clout in the society, you adopted that name and you would use Mrs. and as well as you use Mrs. In addition to taking your in addition to taking your husband's name. But at some point, because some people were not married and they were in relationship, they started to they wanted to separate it. So they said, mistress for those who are in what they call entanglement, a relationship that is not with a married man, and Mrs. is for those that are married. So they started to separate this in years to come. But if you go to the thread and check online, you will see that this thing has moved from generation to generation. So the point is that what Abby rightly identified, people don't have the same standard for men. And so how do we perpetuate system? Can we go to the next slide, please? How do you perpetuate system? And I'll go straight into it. So it's a set of principles or procedure according to which something is done, organized, and is a method in a strategic way. So if you look at today and what our reality is in the country, and if you look at what is going on, whether it's in gender, whether it's in education, whether in business, whether your color of your skin, you'll find out that people have created a system in a way that people feel excluded. People feel excluded whether if they want to go to a certain university, they'll say, oh, you don't belong to this group because you don't have the kind of money that you should need, right? That you need for it. If you decide to say you want to take a certain profession, they say that belongs to men, it's not for women. And if you decide to be a chef, they'll say, women are the ones that are in the kitchen. And what that means in essence, that systems are created by human norms and are created by information that we gather. And these are the things that forces all of us to see what is happening in the world today. It's forcing all of us to see what's happening in the world today. So you will see the disconnection we're seeing. We're seeing the level of poverty we're seeing. Can we move to the next slide? You will see what we are seeing in the war that we're experiencing in Ukraine. You will see the disconnection we're seeing today when, if you are married to a foreigner in Nigeria, the law says that you can't have citizenship for your husband, but a man can have citizenship for his wife. So how do we create this system? Education is very vital. And over time, education is defined by who are the elite of that system. The elite of the system are the ones who define what education is. So they are the ones that will tell you that, if you are like this, if you are this color, you are this. If you are this certain kind of weight, then you're obese. There are science to it. I'm not saying there's no science to it, or there's no theory around that. But the challenge is that have we created a system that the inequality is so much? So education is one of the key things that forces systems to be created, that perpetuates the level of poverty we're seeing, that causes the inequality we're seeing between men and women. And there are many other things that we're seeing that the system has made life so difficult for others. The pop culture comes from the creative world, people who come up with new ideas, whether through their music, through their hearts, and they tell us how life should be. They tell us kind of how we should dance. They tell us what we sing along. They tell us all kinds of things. Pop culture determines many things that happens to all of us. Storytelling, very vital. Narratives. Stories are passed down from generation to generation. So you will hear things about, men are meant to do this. Men shouldn't cry. Women shouldn't do this. If you're a certain age, you're already not doing well. If you are 40, in fact, we even have a system that says a fool at 40 is a fool forever. I wonder who came up with those ideas. A fool at 40 is a fool forever. There's nothing we have not seen in the world today, but we accept it because over time, stories are being shared by everyone. People tell us, if you are this is what happens to you. In fact, it's so bad that you will hear things about, if I'm just from this village, our tradition, how things are. And they will perpetuate the same system in such a way that people are not able to find the love that they want. People are not able to get the kind of job that they want. People are not able to do what they want to do in their lives. People want to, some people, all they want to just to wake up and create recipes. They don't really want to do anything. But the system has said, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not an engineer, particularly in this part of our world, if you're not this, you're not successful in life. And so you will see storytelling plays a vital role in how people create systems that perpetuates inequality and poverty. Religion, one of the strongest one that you would see in the world today. And if you look at the dynamics, and I'm putting there, I intentionally picked the one for Mrs., Mistress, and Miss, because one of the challenges that we're seeing in the world today is inequality that we've seen between men and women. And I'm not bringing that up because it's a fun conversation. I'm bringing it up because unless we begin to understand that every voice matters, we will not solve our problem. And as long as the table is for a few people, whether it's for men or whether it's for those we consider elites, as long as we continue to perpetuate that system, we will not be free. And so when I talk about religion, I'm talking about how so deep rooted people have allowed religion to affect them. They perpetuate the system. So for example, we've been running a lot of campaign around issues, for example, that affects whether bullying in the country, bullying in secondary school, bullying in workplace. I mean, I'm sure all of us have seen what is happening with horrible bosses that is trending on Twitter today. But most of the time, when we tell people, the first thing that comes to their mind is that God forbid, it won't happen to me. It's not my portion. And you will laugh about it. And some people will still tell you, no, it's still not my portion. But the reality is that we're perpetuating that system because we're not addressing the issue. We are using our own lens of our righteousness, using our own lens on how we see things, how we see the world, and not understanding that we are creating a world that is already imperfect in itself, but we are not allowing people to have a freedom or have a seat at the table. And so systems get created, and this is not the only thing, but these are just a few that I wanted to share. Education. How do we change the system of education in such a way that people can see themselves. People don't need to feel inferior. If you know that I don't need to have a university education, that's not my forte. And most people that have used education to say you don't need to go to school, they only refer to people like Mark Zuckerberg and people like Steve Jobs that they dropped out of school. But what I'm talking about here is not about those few outliers. I'm talking about how do we create a system that works for everyone? Because the reality of what Act Foundation is doing and what my own organization is doing is that we want to create a world where every voice is heard. We want to create a world where everyone feels they can achieve their goal in life without having to beg anyone. An opportunity where everyone can wake up one day and say, you know what, this is what I want to follow. I want to be a motor mechanic, and the system will support them. I want to be a furniture maker, and our system will support them. I want to be able to, I just want to drum, I play violin, and that's it. A system where everyone can aspire and they can make it happen. And so the work we're trying to do today, whether from an Act Foundation perspective or Change.org Foundation or Change.org Foundation and any other organization, is how do we create more equity in our world? How do we create a system that supports everyone? Thank you. Winnie says, how do we, I'm just saying, sorry, I wanted to read out something that Winnie said now. Yeah, but I think I'll get back to that. Create a world where everyone can be heard, create a system that supports everyone. Thank you, Wagbele. And so that is the point that's really the point about this conversation. So next slide, please. And I just want to jump in quickly in, next slide, please. Hello, next slide. So what are the effects of systems? Poverty, you've seen it around. It's in Nigeria. A lot of people are completely in denial because when people talk about, Lagos is working, Abuja is working, Enugu is working, Port Harcourt is working. People only look from the lens of a few. So there's poverty and the wealthy few. So as long as you know that there's a nice hotel that you're seeing in VI, and you see also there's a good road network between VI and Lekki, because from Ajah is a different thing, right? For those who are not in Lagos, what I'm saying is that Nigeria works when a few people feel that they can get to work early, but they don't understand that the bigger part of Lagos is not just 60%, it's not just the 5% that lives in Lekki or in Okoyi or live in VI. It is the 90% that live in Songwater, the ones that live in Ipaja. If the system works for them, then then it's working. So the effect of system is that it keeps a few people wealthy and it keeps a lot of people very poor. The second thing that you will see a lot around us is male dominance. Male dominance in many forms. We've seen it in many ways, where this month we've been doing breaking the barriers. One of the things that really pained me so much this month, we started from Change.org to wanted to use this month to promote conversation around women. And it was so fascinating when we started it. We did a campaign on, they should allow more women in place of power, which allow more women to have access to opportunities. We talked about many things. We even talked about, maternity leave, that women should be able to work for, for 6 months, take maternity for 6 months. Guess what? None of the campaign that we did worked well. And when we tried to speak with some women, some of the things that they mentioned to us is that, why? If you run those kind of campaigns, more women will be out of job. And it's so very fascinating how the system that we're trying to fight is keeping all of us in the same thing. Why? Because not all of us are not seeing what the larger system that is forming the same cycle where we are not able to break out of it. So male dominance is also there because we're also not paying attention to what has really happened. So I talked about religion, right? And if you look at religion, even from the story of Adam and Eve, the story was already tilted against the women because they said it was the woman that really caused the problem for the man. And you will hear this kind of thing in a way that people make jokes about it, but also, hello? Hello?
I can hear you. I think someone unmuted them. Press mute them now.
Okay, all right, cool. All right. So if you look at from a religious standpoint and you see what has happened in the story in the Garden of Eden, for those who understand biblical stories, and I'm selecting that intentionally because I know it's a popular story. I'm not trying to promote one religion over the other. So if you hear that, you will hear the same thing about women were the one deceived. They've made man fall. And so even in religion, you've seen how we're perpetuating the same story. Whether it's the complete truth is what we have heard or not, we don't know. The point is that some people have built this world and created a system where all of us, through education, through storytelling, believe whatever we hear. Just like all of us, in one way or the other, had different definition of Mr., Mrs., Miss, and Mistress. But if you look at the century, 16th, 17th, 18th century, it meant something really different from what we have today. And it will also change again in future. And so how do you recognize the effect of the system we are creating in a way that people are losing out? The third thing is hate and bias. You've seen it. People just don't like some people from different parts of, and it's true. It's true that there are certain people, based on what they do, they create some sort of narrative. So we hear stories about, that the Yorubas are like this, the Igbos are like this, the Hausas are like this. You hear all this kind of thing. And in many ways, there are certain examples that are true. And I say certain examples are true. For those of us who understand a bit of law, what we call fallacy. So the fact that something has happened to one person doesn't mean that it's a complete truth for everything. But guess what? We carry the same information. The same way a Chinese man will believe something about a black man, the same way I will believe something about a Chinese man and being about Indian. They are all part of the system. It creates hate and bias in such a way that we're not able to see people. And the final thing I'll talk about before we now talk about how do you break system. There's a lot of people who believe that they are very righteous. I call it pious evil. Because you will see it in different places. People have an opportunity. I'll give you a simple example so you understand what I'm saying. So people apply for jobs and there's 1,000 CVs that's there. But because you don't have time, you're not able to look at those CVs. What do you think has happened to the people that applied? You are only able to look at 20 applications, but somebody has made an effort to submit an application and they can't get a job. How many times have you tried to apply for a loan, apply for a job, apply for an opportunity? And people, you would assume that they will see you and give you a fair treatment, but it's not even going to happen. Why? People believe that opportunities come to people in different ways, and they also believe that when is your time, God will make it work. And so, in a way, you are using the opportunity and the access that you have and using to make judgment. So pious evil in the sense that you feel righteous in the way you've done your things, but definitely someone is losing out. Effect of system, and this is not enough. There are many others, and I'm sure all of us in this room understand this very well. The effect of system is what we're seeing today. The dimension of poverty we see in Africa is the effect of the system. And some of them we can blame the colonization, but you see, some of them is because we've also left our ways. Because in the past, things worked. I'll take an example of financial inclusion, for example. And I'm saying that in a way because even for some of the conversation we're trying to have, when say they want to do this, exclusion came. Let me repeat, exclusion came when commercial banking came and started digitalization, right? Because the banking system already worked in the past. Why? The thrift system that allowed people to do a susu in their local villages worked. And when I did banking in the early days in 2009, I joined banking in 2001. In those times, I remember that communities even had their own banks. So you will put your money together in a SUSU system and bring your money to a community bank, but your community bank will now open an account in a commercial bank in Lagos, which means that anyone in that village can have access to opportunities around Nigeria, regardless of even if they have 500 naira, because the community bank will cater to them. So when people say there's financial inclusion program, I agree, it's true. But the problem of financial inclusion is because we excluded them through technology and we forgot that the pattern of payment that happened in those villages was different. I take another system. So we believe, for example, democracy is the only way, but they have a king, they have a queen of England. You have a queen of England. So which means that the monarch system is working there. We don't believe in our kings. We don't believe our kings, and we say, and we can argue that they've compromised. But our monarch system doesn't work anymore. Why? Because we're trying to take another system that has not really worked well for us. So what am I saying about it? Systems create imperfection in our environments. And to break that cycle of whether poverty, male dominance, hate and bias, you will need to understand how we need to behave and change things. So let's go to the next slide quickly, please. Next slide, please. Hello, next slide. All right. So if you look at generally what's happening in Nigeria, social system that affects Nigeria, we have issues of poverty. We have corruption in our system. We have unemployment in our system. We have education, that is not even working well for all of us, right? Inequality everywhere, gender-based bias. The girls' education is not valued as much as boys' education. Imagine that 47% of girls are out of school in the northeast of Nigeria compared to 47.3% of girls in the northwest. That's already half of all the girls in Nigeria. Just think about that. Terrorism has affected the way we've thought about our environment. Today, you can't move around anymore. And so whether it's in trying to bring food to different parts of the country, there's a challenge. Whether it's in terms of, how do people just think about tourism? When people say that Nigeria is not a tourist country, I laugh. I'm like, okay, you actually don't know the history of Nigeria, because tourism is not elephants, it's not lion. Tourism is about history, it's about the people, about music, it's about other things, including those things that you see in safari. But you see, all of the things that allowed poverty to affect Nigeria, there are different elements of all of us, and which all of us, one way or the other, may have contributed to it. And what I'm saying here is that to break that cycle and bring a new dimension into our own life, we must recognize the issues that are affecting us and the system that's created in them in a way that is affecting the way we think about things. Can we move to the next slide, please, Elo? Yeah. So how do you cause a shift to happen in the system? Next slide, please. How do you cause a shift to happen in the system? I'll talk about three things. And in many ways, when I talk about this, I'm going to allow people to ask questions after this. And I'm just running through, because I know that this time cannot be sufficient enough for us. I think that we can do a lot more when we talk about how do we break system. And we can do it from a sector perspective. We can do it from the perspective of based on, even region. You can say, how do we break the system in the East, in the West, in South Africa, in West Africa, in East Africa? How do we break it? We can talk about all of that, but I just want to talk about the three things I feel like will be very, very important for us to break system. One is we need to build new narratives. And so when I ask the question of Miss, Mr., and Mistress, I want people to be curious. And that's why I brought that. Now, there are other ones, right? But I just want you to be curious enough to begin to dig deeper. Because unless we dig deeper, we won't build new narratives. We're going to perpetuate the same old system. We're going to see someone and call them, oh, this one is married. There's a way I need to deal with this person. This one is not married. There's a way I need to talk to them in a certain way. Do I need to be condescending to anyone? I don't think so. Whether you're married or not, I shouldn't be condescending to anyone. You shouldn't also look at people and say their life is not working well because they're not. So the point is that how do you build new narrative? New narrative starts from being curious enough to dig deeper, to understand what is going on, to say, okay, they said that people from the East are like this. Okay, this is my friend. I want to understand him more, understand. And even if that person fails, give another person a chance. So the point is, how do you build new narratives? We build new narratives by trying, by being curious, by checking in information, finding the facts. How did we even arrive here? How did we arrive there? You need to think about all of those things. How do we build those things? We need to find those stories that helped us. So if you need to go and dig deep in the 16th century, if you need to go and check out what the history of the world has been, you need to go and read out. If you need to go and read books, attend sessions, ask people, ask your grandmother, ask your grandfather, ask your friend questions. We need to build new narratives. And to build a new narrative, we must know what we're trying to tackle. We need to tackle those things. So if you feel that we want to create gender equality, let's go back to how we even started to the point where we have issues, right? So being curious, asking questions, thank you, Wagwele, asking questions, being deliberate in our intervention, will help us. So what do I mean by deliberate intervention? And I started to think about this a lot this year, and I think I've shared this idea with a lot of more people as well. Many of us don't know that to cause a system shift, we need to be very intentional on how we intervene. So Act Foundation, for example, is intentionally finding new ideas, new ways, new technologies, and new people that are making things happen. And if you look at the way they're doing their funding, for example, for Act Foundation, they're very intentional about how they select people and what impact they are doing. And they're also looking at the different clusters. That's the deliberate intervention, because I'm looking at, okay, if I'm going to solve issues of injustice, I'm going to solve issues of poverty, then I need to understand, okay, health is very important, education is very important, politics is very important. And so for me to intervene, I need to find people who have solutions, new ideas, new narratives, and help them by giving them support so they can do their work. That is one aspect of it. Are there individual intervention? Absolutely. So I mentioned that if somebody applied for a role and you know you don't have the capacity, then don't open the application more than 3 days. Why? Because if you have 50 people that apply and you can give them an equal opportunity, you have created a system where anyone, anywhere, without any intervention anywhere, can feel that their life will work, right? So if a young graduate feels that you make an application to genuinely to Shell or make an application to an organization, and they will look at his CV and give you feedback in a way that helps him to be better or to move forward in his life, then we are creating a system where people begin to believe that if I go to school and I come out of school, if I make an application, someone would see me. But today, not everyone is seeing us. You will make an application to a loan unless you have someone you need to give a call. You make an application to bid for a project unless you know someone who's there, no one's going to help you. If you want to apply for visa, you need to think about, what do I need to do? Who's going to send me a letter? There are many things that's not happening around us that's making life difficult for people. So deliberate intervention, what can you do as an individual to make things happen? So if you are the head of HR, make sure you look at every CV. And it's hard. If you're not going to look at every CV, create a test for them now. Let them know that, okay, if you scale this one, then now you can now make your application. There are better ways of creating a system that doesn't perpetuate inequality in our world today. If you are the type that you know that certain people don't have the education that they require, then start to create opportunity for them to train them. Don't use the excuse that this security guy that's at the gates is not really serious. So what can I do? If you want to really help him, there's a way you can help them. So what I'm saying is this: to shift the system that's creating equality and creating opportunities only for a few, then make the opportunity available to everyone. Everyone. Make it in such a way that when it comes to you, you are trying to find a way to change that system in a way that people would feel empowered by it. And I'll say the last one: love your neighbor as yourself. When I say love your neighbor as yourself, most people, my brother told me something in my last conversation with him. And he said, he's looked at Europe and he's looked at a lot of other countries, that they built their country based on love. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you see, for you to know that someone cannot afford something, buy a house and create a mortgage system, it's because you are very intentional to say, how do I create an opportunity for a young couple, a young family to be able to access funding for something that they will save 20 years to make it happen. That for you to think about that, you are being intentional about it, you are helping the people. It's an act of love. That technically, maybe the things have changed in the world today, but most of the system that has worked is based on love. And I find it fascinating because while we may not all agree to this reality, but if you think about it, like if I'm very intentional about the people around me, I don't need to solve Nigeria's problem. But if I want to be intentional about people around me, it means that I'll give people the time off that they need for the work that if they've worked hard overnight, I want to give them a time off the next day, which means that you are allowing them to have a balanced life. If I look at my colleague who's working with me, who doesn't have access to education or wants to do masters, and I see that, okay, this person can't make this money. Maybe as an organization, if I have the fund, I can say, we can give you a staff loan to go and take this education, but this is the terms that you engage with us. And there are people that are doing it. I'm not saying people are not doing this, but I'm saying that imagine if all of us are very intentional about people around us. Imagine we don't look at colors, gender, skin, creed, religion to judge people, what that will change for our world today. So the point is to change a system, in a way that works for everyone. It's not something that one person can do. It's something that all of us must be part of. Because if we're not doing it, if we're not contributing our own quota to it, the system will continue to perpetuate itself. We may be able to solve our own personal individual problems, but we'll still end up here. Because today, I'm still in shock that we're still having issues of inequality when it comes to gender. Today, I'm still in shock that somebody can wake up and still assume that only them, they are the only ones that go to heaven. If heaven even exists. And I'm not arguing about that because I also have my own faith, right? But some people already feel some people are already in hell. Some people already feel that some people will never make it in life. They can't get any job. Some people think that some people will never amount to anything in life. Some people, so they feel that there's no point to intervene to help them. So what I'm saying in this is, and this is just like an overview of what's going on. What I'm saying in this conversation is to change a system that has caused inequality wars around us today, we need to recognize that there are many systems at work, and we are part of that. And there's a larger system that's keeping all of us in the same bubble. And so if you look at what's happening in the US, if you look at what's happening in Ukraine today, if you look at what's happening in Russia today, if you look at what's happening in politics in Nigeria today, it's a sign that we have created an imbalance in our system and we're all paying the price. So how do we stop it is what we need to figure out, because the work is not just for one person. It's not just one organization like an art foundation or change.org foundation or your own organization trying to do your work, or Happy's organization, Happy is here, Global Right. And it's not just one organization, it's everyone. But if we don't understand that there's a system that is at play that's creating these biases, the system as at play that's creating the poverty, the system as at play that's making life so hard for all of us, that people just wake up in the morning and there's no hope, that they look around them and there's no possibility. People can take mortgage, people can buy houses, people can buy new cars, you can have kids, to the point where even those who adopt kids, we pity them instead of just appreciating what they've done. You adopt a child and say, God will reward you. Why? Why do you think God is going to reward the person? Don't you think the person actually is the one that is getting rewarded by taking care of a child? It's a privilege to nurture someone's life. And so in many of the things that we're doing, we are creating a system that is not helping all of us. And some of them, we are contributing to it. Some of them, the system has contributed to us. My point is, how do we even start to shift a little bit? How do we begin to change so that when an Act Foundation calls you for a meeting and says that, I want us to be able to solve issues of health, I want us to be able to solve issues of education, you're not just coming with a bias to say, oh, no, they only work for people that they like. No, you're coming with a genuine solution that can help. Because when you hear what people say about organizations, when you hear people say, about intervention and what people are doing, you'll be shocked. And my curiosity is, how did we get here? How did we get here? And so my hope for this conversation this morning, and I'm going to allow people to speak now because I know you all have different wisdom that you shared. And I want people to just share a system that they're tackling. What is that? What is one thing they've recognized and one thing that you're tackling in a way that's helping all of us to move forward? Because the importance of this conversation is not just for us to recognize alone, it's for us to remember that we need to move forward. And the reason I'm saying that is we're late. The world is on self-destruct as we see today. We're on self-destruct. It's almost like the button's already been pressed. The level of poverty that we see around you is so much that if the people will spill to the streets, like we saw when what happened in Lagos during the EndSARS, it will be deadly for everyone. Imagine if this war that's going on in Ukraine and Russia becomes something else, more like chaos that we're seeing in the world today. So please, I'm just going to take, Elo, maybe you can stop sharing the screen and just allow, because I also want people to share. And so maybe just take one or two examples of people who they recognize the system that's happening somewhere and how they're tackling it. So what I want you to think about is, what is that one system that you're seeing? So I've mentioned the one on gender, I've mentioned the one on religion. There are many other ones. And the idea is to help other people to see these things so they can become more curious and ask more questions. And so what systems have you seen that you've tackled, that you're tackling? And how do you hope that you can help to break that cycle in a way that everyone, and I see many hands, so Elo, feel free to select anyone.
Okay, so we have two hands up. I'll start with Winnie. Winnie, do you want to share?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Willie Wagbali, and I'm the convener of Nigerian Volunteers in War. It's a project that's designed to promote voluntary culture in Nigeria, and we do this by celebrating people making exceptional impacts across various communities in Nigeria. So why I'm sharing this because I've witnessed or I've experienced a lot of award celebrations whereby the system is through voting, and so through voting, so this means that those actually have a lot of followers still, they have a lot of fan base, they are likely to get votes and all of that. So and those that are actually doing credible work, just because maybe they don't have large followings or large audience, they tend not to actually merit this supposed award. So Coming with the FVA project, we decided to say, you know what, it's going to be a strictly non-voting award process, however, based on credibility. And how do we do this? We make the nomination window open and allow people to send a brief profile of what they do on their previous nominations. Then we forward everything to the jury. Then the jury, based on our criteria, they look at, this nomination entries and get what we want, go through the numbers. So what that has done, and also not just that, that also, and some of the awards, so they're like, okay, not above 30, or within 25 years, not above 25, and all of that. And there are people, they started late, they are making exceptional impact, but because of that age, whatever, it has barricaded them. It has put them aside. Oh, you know what? I can't cover it because I'm above this age and all that. That's alone, I think it's part of the bias we are talking about. So this is where we are actually bringing a shift when it comes to celebrating people who make exceptional impacts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Willie. Prudence, we have Prudence hands up.
Yes, Prudence, you can go. Hello? Prudence, you're breaking up a bit. Okay, maybe Ekene. Prudence, we'll come back to you, Ekene, if you're ready.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
And thank you, Mr. Wale. I hope I got the name right. That was very on. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Ekene Okolie. I'm the founder of the STEM Damsel Network. The problem we are trying to solve is increasing the enrollment of the girl child into sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And initially, we thought the problem was with the girls themselves. But as we began to have interventions and began to interact with these girls in the secondary school, we found out that the system was really from the parents, the mothers particularly. In our engaging with the students, it was so heartbreaking to begin to hear some of these things these girls were telling us, how the mothers are the ones who even make them believe that they don't have what it takes to thrive in a male-dominated field. And so we had to go back to begin to strategize on how to begin to interact with their parents through their parents, teachers meetings, through town hall meetings and all of that. And that was why when I got the link to join this session, I knew that I needed to, understand how we needed to go about having a systemic change, because if it was just 1, 2, 3 students who had expressed these fears, then we could have said, okay, maybe it's not a system thing, but almost all the girls had the same thing to say. The mothers are telling them their places in the kitchen. The aunties are telling them, you don't have what it takes, don't bother about it. So when it's coming from your mother, it's like the mother have had a meeting, they have told themselves, this is how it has been, and there's nothing we can really do about it. And that was pretty much a challenge, because how do you go to school to tell girls that you have what it takes, and when they go back home, their mothers are saying you don't have what it takes? This is a systemic challenge, and we're really hoping that we would also be able to solve that problem as we continue to sensitize the girls on the need for them to, continue to increase their enrollment in sciences. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's so profound. And I'm so glad to just hear you talk about this, because, and it's good to see it. It's good to see it. And once you recognize it, it's half of the problem is solved. And it's just I'm so grateful. I hope you are sharing these lessons with the embassies, because I know they put a lot of money and they put a lot of support around this. Just imagine what that means. The storytelling, narrative, when is it from the home? My daughter shared a story with me and talked about, one day she was in school, and then there was a boy that was sweeping in the place, and the teacher came and said, you mean all you girls are sitting down and a boy is sweeping? And she's 15, and she asked me a question, why is the world like this? I start to think to myself, like, just imagine the indoctrination that happens. And I don't disapprove that there are some norms that all of us should sign up to, but should those norms be the ones that creates imbalance in our system? I think that's a question for all of us. I see 3 more hands. Amos, go for it, and then we have Abbas, and then Joseph, and if Prudence is able to come back, we can have her before we close the session out. Amos, please go for it.
Good morning, everyone. I believe you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. I'm working with UN agency here in Kano, the northern part of Nigeria. I'm doing something different from what my organization is doing. I'm doing it personally, but I just think I need to share it with us. I started a postgraduate diploma in education in Bayero University, and as part of the course, we have to do teaching practice. So I was assigned to a secondary school to do teaching practice. And when I got to the school, I discovered from GS1 to XS2, they are sitting down on the floor, on the bare floor. But when you enter Kano, all the roundabouts in Kano, they spend a lot of money to put in the roundabout. But the schools, no infrastructure. I look at what can I do? My organization is not doing something like that. So in my own little way, with the salary I'm collecting, I have family responsibility. I pick some students that I know among them are very good, academically they are sharp, but they lack resources. No shoe, no sandal, no school bag, no uniform is torn. So I pick the one I can do, go to a fashion designer, please take their measurement, give them school uniform. I went to the market myself, bought sandal, bought school bag. I started giving to them, and I'm following it up every time to see how they are doing. So in this way, there are narratives, but I don't know how this can be changed. I don't know how we can advocate to the government that building roundabouts is not the necessity. Education is lacking. Infrastructure is not there. There are schools in the state capital without toilet facility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amos, and thank you for the work you're doing. Abbas?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Abbas. I'm working with a local NGO, Ransi Foundation in Bauchi, Northeast Nigeria. What we are doing that is very impactful on changing the narrative here is, on our side, one of the LGAs in Bauchi State is having a higher rate of HIV and AIDS prevalence. So what we did was to do a survey, and our survey shows that the children from age 0 till around 5, 6, 7 are much more affected. And you ask yourself, how? You ask yourself, why? Why is that these children that have been affected the more? The PMTCT or lack of education or what? So what we're doing as a project is we are now educating and sensitizing the community. We look for those that are positive, we educate them, we tell them, see, if you let your children as old as 1, 2, 3, up to 5, get infected, what do you think the future holds for them? So with our continuous education, with our continuous orientation and sensitization, I'm telling you that this rate now is getting lower by the day. And also virus, immediately she's placed on HEI, where immediately that child is born, the child is placed on medication so that there won't be transmission of mother to child. And also with that, we'll be able to reduce the rate of transmission of mother to child. And also in the community, we discover there is these old norms that boys, men are small which we've been giving them every time, the narrative have changed drastically, my brother. Now you can go to the community and see a man assisting his wife, washing her clothes outside, not even inside. Because of the orientation they have now that men are not just the gods of the house, they are also there to assist their wives. The wives now are also very happy that for the first time, projects are coming, but they are not coming with this kind of package. For the first time, the husband will tell them, hey, sit down, let me fetch water for you. For the first time, the husband will tell them, you are pregnant, don't do any work, I will do the house chores for you. So it is now so interesting that the narrative is now changing. And what we are seeking for is we need continuity, so that the people in the communities will know that these men, just doing it, you talk about your 15-year-old daughter seeing a boy sweeping and she asks questions. The same thing you also making the women to understand that house chores is not just for only girls, and also girls are not meant to be in the kitchen. They have so many potentials. I think that is the little way we are also changing the narrative from our own end. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thanks for sharing. And I know I see many hands, but I think, Elo, we probably can take only maybe two more.
Yes, for now, since we're still going back to the slide.
Yes. All right, so we can just let two more and then we can just
okay. So
down.
Go ahead, Joseph. Then after Joseph, Rachel can go. Joseph, are you ready? Okay, Rachel, if you're ready, you can take the floor.
All right, thank you. And good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I'm really glad that I'm part of this program this morning. And I was so blessed when I got to share about this issues of creating system. Now, part of what really got to me is the aspect where you spoke about everyone. We need to be intentional about everybody, where everyone needs to feel special and empowered to do what they need to do within the system that is being created and that has been bastardized over the years. Now, in my organization, I'm the founder of Africa Peace Initiative. We are in the Middle Belt region of Nigeria, but our focus is on crisis-prone communities. And our targets, mostly we are targeting youths, those who are being seen as street guys. Now, we are most particular about those guys because most of the conflicts we are experiencing in this part of our nation are being perpetrated by these youths that are being used. So we want to see what best can we do in our interactions with them. We've got to understand that some of these guys lack quality education. Some don't even have access to education. Some have the desire to, but they don't have the means to be able to get that. So how do we empower this youth? Because like you have rightly stated, there's this polarization about in this system where everybody is like, this section, you do not belong here. This other section, you are the ones being recognized. So even when you come with your skills, you are nobody. And so we want to see, how do we make these people feel important? These youth feel they are among everyone in the society, and they can also contribute meaningfully to what is good in the society, and they don't need that feeling of segregation, because it's those pain that's accumulated most times that make this youth want to engage in all social vices that is now beginning to bring this conflict that we are experiencing in the northern part of Nigeria. So I'm so happy, I'm so glad, and I hope that by the end of this program, we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to apply them in some of those ways we can use to help these youth to know that education alone, or just because someone has gone to school and they have acquired education, doesn't mean that they are better than them, and that whatever they have within, they can utilize them and contribute to the society. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing, and thank you for the work you do. I think we have one more person and then we can close it out.
Yes, so Gloria, if you can do this under 30 seconds, it would be great. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Gloria. I am the program coordinator for Project Pink Blue. Project Pink Blue, we do basically on cancer research, advocacy, training of oncology professionals, and fundraising for cancer patients. And going by our discussion this morning, I would like to touch on a very important area of our work, and that is how cancer affects women because they are women, and how it also affects their outcomes. And we've seen women who have not been able to access treatment because their spouses wouldn't let them have a mastectomy, that is remove their breast, or have a doctor examine their vagina area or check their cervix because they are women, they have to listen to their spouses. And we have also seen women who refuse to talk about their health challenges until it gets bad, and maybe they are stage 4 and these women die. And of course, these spouses that have refused to show support will always go ahead to get married again. And then the one that is really, I'm really looking at right now is the divorce rate among cancer patients in Nigeria. It's increasingly high. You know, we look at, we don't want to tell ourselves the truth when it comes to the rate of divorce in Nigeria, especially in the cancer space. So there are more men leaving their wives because they have cancer. I am a survivor myself. I survived breast cancer. I'm in a support group. So I know women that have gone through these things. And I'm yet to see, I know it exists, women that have left their husbands because they have cancer. So these discussions are some of the things we want to start bringing to the front burner, even in international spaces. So we begin to talk to people, how can we bridge this gap? You know, women are being treated differently on account of their genders when it comes to health issues that could affect anyone, and then the men get better treatment. So these are some of the discussions we want to start looking at, you know, beyond our other advocacy and fundraising, quality of life of cancer patients. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
very quickly. Yes, thank you very much for this insightful
Thank you.
program. I'm really enjoying myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thanks for everyone that shared. And apologies for those that are also not able to share. As you know that the time is not going to be enough. Like I said, this is just like a we're just doing this conversation just to like start the conversation, and there'll be many more opportunities that we can do this. Just before I close, I just want to I'll close it out now. Elu, just give me about 5 minutes. Buki, if you are there, Buki and I work together at change.org, and many of the work that we have seen, what we've been learning, particularly with the campaign that we've been running, from whether it's from the English test to bring more equity for Nigerians to be able to, you know, why would we pay so much money to pass the exam that will expire in 2 years? You know, why would you suffer through you know, the injustice of, you know, you're married in Nigeria, you can't bring your spouse can't get a citizenship because it's only for men. You know, there are many things we're dealing with, but I just want Buki, if you're there, Buki, you're there. Okay, go ahead, please. I just want you to share a bit about how we're thinking about this, and maybe just share an experience of any campaign that you think is touching around how we're using that to bring systemic change, and then we can close it out.
Okay, thank you, Wale, and I'm super excited to join this meeting. And I've been listening for some time. I'm particularly so glad to hear some of the challenges. I mean, you come to meetings like this and you hear people always talk about their successes, how their programs are doing so well. It's good to hear successes, but it's also nice to hear challenges and see how we can all in this room work together to just help sort of give a platform or give solutions. And that's really part of my brief at change.org, is to work with people who are doing brilliant work on the ground, but they've seen some of the challenges that we in the cities or people living in Lagos or Abuja are not seeing. I like what Mr. Amos said about some of the schools, and the students didn't have uniforms, they had torn uniforms. But when you go to the cities in Kaduna, when you go to the town in Kaduna, they have these edifices that make it look like everything is okay. And what change.org is trying to do is give people wherever they are the platform to amplify the challenges they're seeing. So specifically, if you wanted to do something about what you are seeing in Kaduna's remote areas, and you don't know how to go about it, even if you're a government staff and you don't know how to talk about it, we at change.org, we will put you in touch with organizations that have the platform to be able to raise these things via petitions. Meaning, what if you have pictures of dilapidated classrooms, you have pictures of dilapidated hospitals because you are probably working in a hospital where they are examining women or mastectomies, and you see this is wrong, and you see that you want to do something about it. We are here to help you look for the platform to amplify. And I will give very specific examples. We had a lady start a petition on our platform about pension, the pension scheme in Nigeria, all the challenges you face just trying to transition from one job to the other and transition your pension to another. And she had a problem with her mother. Her mother wasn't able to access her pension funds. Her mother had cancer. She couldn't pay for it. They were the ones trying to get money to pay for this. And we said, okay, this is the time to amplify and hold to account the pension operators. It may look like it only affects people that are older, but you and I have pensions, and we want to be able to use it when we run into trouble, when we want to do something. And she started a petition. And that way, because of the kind of talk and the way we amplified it and shared it, and the way we were getting in touch with the people that were mentioned in that petition, they reached out to her and said, Stanbic IBTC reached out to her to say, we want to do something about this. How do we go about it? But if she didn't start a petition, they wouldn't have reached out to her to say, we want to consider the systems and the challenges Nigerians are facing, assessing the hard-earned money they've saved in their active years and they cannot access when they are sick, when they are older. So those are some of the things that we do at Change.org. We've worked on a lot of campaigns. Wale talked about the maternity leave. That's one of the things we are looking at, where we are saying Nigeria has a maternity leave of 4 years. We want it to be 6 years, and we are working with credible organizations, doctors, pediatricians, building a narrative to say, this is the compelling reason why the government needs to look into this. So I'm super interested in people in this room reaching out to us to say, this is what we're seeing on ground. We need a platform to either shame or amplify, or a platform that will get the lawmakers. And I'm sure there are lawmakers in Kano. I'm sure, I mean, they have a governor. There are things that we can, if we don't bring this to light, one person can't do it. We need to hold our government to account. We need to hold the system to account, but it starts with one person. And we are saying you don't have to do it alone. And I'm sure Wale is going to share our details, our contact with a small team, but I can assure you with working with individuals or groups, we can sort of amplify what we see every day around us. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Buki. And thanks for everyone for contributing today. Thanks so much, ACT Foundation, for making this happen. I think that we should do many more of these things because even just from the wisdom that is coming from the room and how people have shared their own personal experience and how they are making shifts happen in their work and the things that they are doing and the support that they are getting from individuals and organizations like ACT Foundation, we are seeing that it is possible. And I'm just going to close by saying, in many ways, when I think about this country, when I think about Africa, one of the things I'm tired of is the same stories. I'm tired of hearing that, it's going to, one day everything is just going to collapse and end. I don't want to be that way I want to live my life. And that's not what I want to leave, certainly for my daughters. And I know that all of us, one way or the other, we're always thinking, how do we leave the world in a better place? And because we're all curious about how to, because the reason we're here in this conversation is because you are in that space. You want to make sure that we leave the world in a better place. So it's possible, but we are late. And I say we are late in many forms because if you look at certain critical sectors, you will see that we're really late. We're seeing it in health. It has shown that we're late because it's like, we keep losing people to think that shouldn't even happen. But if you look at education is getting to that point as well. We're almost getting late in education. Food security, we're seeing it, we're getting late. And if you look at that across different sectors, it appears we're really late and behind the scene. We're not working quickly. But the reality is that through conversations like this, where we recognize system that is at play, and through conversations like this, where all of us that we can begin to see that we can contribute and make those things happen, we can catch up. We may not be able to solve all our problems, but it is possible. And I think that for all of us in this conversation this morning, the question I want to leave you with is, what systems are you helping to break? And which one are you creating? Because if we are curious on the ones we are creating, that is not working for all, then we should find a way to dismantle it. So in our own small ways, let's start. And we are here to support you. And I'm hoping that we'll have a deeper level of collaboration that we can have going forward. But so thank you very much. I think that my time is up. And I think, yeah, my time is up. But I think that Act Foundation says, okay, yeah, that's good. My time is up, but thank you all so much for your contribution. Happy to share details of where you can get more. For those who are interested in the Mr. Mrs. conversation, I'm going to share the link with Elo. Elo, you can send it to everyone because it's so fascinating when you read it. And if you dig deep and you see the history of Africa, you see the history of the world, you see the stories we're here, it doesn't add up. Because the world that we are living is a function of the education that's created this division that makes us to look at people as less human. Every one of us, we are special, and if we just try to be more human in our approach, we'll be in a better place. So thank you all so much, and I think I'll just pause here and hand it back to Act Foundation.
Thank you so much, Wale, for that session. Really amazing, brilliant illustrations from start to end. Now we'll be taking questions, and then Wale is going to answer. And I think there was one question in the chat from Olumide. We can start with that, and then if you have questions that you'd like to ask verbally, you could use the raise hand feature, and then I would ask you to speak when it's time, or you could just put it in the chat. So I'm going to start with Olumide's question. Yeah, so Wale, Olumide says, for systems to shift, are there opportunities in our indigenous practices that we can explore for effective programming and experience transformation at scale? That's from Olumide.
Yes, I think so, Olumide. Yes, that already. I think that having even a platform like this is the start of a system shift. Having a platform where we're having this conversation. A lot of people don't believe conversations matter. I think that there's something about having conversations because you will learn more. You will learn from people. You hear perspective. Like it's just interesting to hear what's going on in one city to another part of the country. You will hear many things. I think the first thing is that we're having a conversation. Yes, there are examples. I'm sure that if you look at in fact, if you just go to Act Foundation's website and read about the amount of organizations that they've supported, it will give you an idea the kind of intervention that exists in the space. I think there's a lot that is already on ground. What I'll propose is how do we find ways to collaborate? I think that's what you should be thinking about, because we do have those things in existence at the moment, and it's just be good to see which one we can explore.
Okay. I see Monica has her hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes, please. My question is about getting into the school's curriculum. We have been in South Africa empowering thousands and thousands of children in schools to empower them to stand up against violence and against abuse. Now, the schools, we need to be in the life skills, life guidance, classrooms with their stamp. So I'm looking for help to actually develop our curriculum to become acceptable within life orientation in schools, life guidance, so that they will accept our community as teachers within life skills. Because I believe that as a community, we bring the knowledge of what's happening in the streets. We bring the updated knowledge of what the children are suffering in the streets. And we need to be in the classrooms. And we have a developed curriculum.
Thank you so much.
So I'm gonna need to get into the curriculum, and I need help with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello. I think what will be helpful for Monica, right, if I get that correctly, is maybe we can share our details. Let's have a conversation and see how we can help and share more on that. I think this more requires a lot more having a conversation one-on-one to understand how because for education system to shift, there's a lot more. There are many gatekeepers and there are many things you need to consider on that. So I think we will need to have a conversation around how do you manage stakeholders and some of the things there. Happy for you to share our details to see how we can help us shape that conversation properly.
Thank you. So will you tell me who do I write to?
You can send an email to info@actrustfoundation.org. I'll put it in the chat, and then we would get in touch with you.
Thank you.
We have some hands up. We have Toby Olaitwon and Boyega. We'll take those two and then we'll look in the chat next. So Toby, if you want to go. Toby, are you there? Okay, Boyega, you can go.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I also apologize. I jumped out of a meeting to also connect here. But the feedback I've gotten so far has been fascinating. One thing I'd just like to share, perhaps maybe it would also elicit response from Wale, is that I've worked with a number of people, early career NGO managers and founders and owners. And again, I've also seen a number of activities, campaigns that are done online most time. But what I haven't also seen in all of this is that it doesn't get to the people who are expected to act on them. We expect a change, but we are not taking our campaign to the doorstep of people who would facilitate that change. I can't remember her name. She also mentioned, how do we take these petitions to policymakers who would effect the change that we want within the system? So it appears that there's a gap, perhaps in terms of capacity, to be able to convert all of these into a proposal that can be delivered to the doorstep. For instance, if a campaign is leading within a state, say, or your state, and then after all the online campaigns, we should be able to put together a communique and all the activities and what we want to change to the doorstep of your state House of Assembly, right? And then expect that they act on it and then follow up with it. So,
thank you, Boyega, and thanks for the work you do. So, just a bit of feedback on that, on how we. And there are other ones, and I'm sure the ACT Foundation will also reach out to you in case you need additional input. But in terms of how we do it, if, for example, for any campaign we're sending out or we're supporting, there's a lot more at the back end that that we don't see. It's the first layer is what you see is when you see. That's not even the first layer. The second layer is. The first layer is when we work with the people behind the scene. The second layer is when it's actually on our platform. But the real work that we do is making sure the decision makers are hearing you and we are able to deliver those things directly to them. And so there's a lot more that is happening behind the scene. So I agree with you. Not only do we just start this kind of thing, but we also need to support it behind the scene. So you would see our details are available in case there's something that you want support on, and we're glad to support you on this.
Thank you so much. Toby is going to try to speak again.
All right, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, we can. Okay.
All right, I work with Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative here in Lagos, and our work is to help in reducing the state of sickle cell in the country, and those who are living with sickle cell, help them to live healthy, productive lives. So based on our discussion this morning, how to achieve systemic change. Now, it's a given that Nigeria has the highest burden of people living with sickle cell. And still, this narrative keeps going on every year. It's not as if it's a new information. But what is how do I put it? I don't want to say annoying, is that we have a government who is trying to pass a bill. I think the bill has been passed, but we see more punitive actions. If you get married to somebody who is in sickle cell, they will deal with you. They will do that. But we're not looking at the proper preventive actions. People, the way they subsidize vaccinations for COVID, do they subsidize genotype tests? Do they regulate labs? we have gotten people who have errors in genotype testing, and they'll get married, and there will be perpetuations of sickle cell. So the systemic change we're looking at is in the health sector. What are the preventive measures that should be followed up? Apart from prevention, what about the curative? There are people who are living with sickle cell, and we know that it's very expensive to manage, but there are solutions like the bone marrow transfer, bone marrow issue. We only have about 2 places in Nigeria, one in Benin and one in Lagos. And a country who has the highest number of people with sickle cell have only 2 bone marrow transfer centers in the country. That is very appalling. So if we're going to look at systemic change, how do we go about it? Because what we do as NGOs working in the sickle cell space is to enable those who are living with sickle cell to live well. Then we now reduce it by doing genotype tests, outreaches, to get people to be aware. And the things that we have seen, that most of the people who are living with sickle cell in Nigeria are from low-income areas. They're not educated. So there's perpetuation of sickle cell in grassroots areas. So all these data are there. And what we just end up doing is to put cosmetic action. You just get drugs for people that are living with sickle cell, but are there measures to ensure that we don't keep perpetuating this for coming generations? So these are my concerns, and I think we can.
Thank you, Toby. Your passion is evident in the way you're speaking about it. And I can see the frustration also. I think Difreke and team and we should think of, or maybe we should think of a session that can really help to drill down on this. I think that is not just because the question, Toby, what you're asking requires a bit more diagnosis, so it can help you find the right answers. I don't want to surface things just from what you just shared. But when you talk about how you make system shift happen, we need to do a diagnosis of what that issue is first. Is there a bit of, there's a government intervention that requires subsidy? There's a part of it that requires, educating people. There's a part of it, there's a religious organizations play a role in it. And I think understanding the different threads will help us be able to come to a conversation around what will work for you. I'm careful not to say this is a solution for what we have not done the diagnosis of. But I hear you. I think that the reality is that who are the stakeholders here? You've identified one, the government. You've identified the other ones, individuals. The testing could be, poverty is another issue, because if the money is there, it's not there, how do we even go for this test? And so there are many layers to it. What would be very interesting to think about a conversation that can help to distill down to say, what are the issues that we're dealing with? Who are the people that we're supposed to, who are the stakeholders here? And there are many tools that we can use for this. But I think that overall, we should think of something that we can use to help us to answer some of these questions that I'm sure others also have in mind as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you so much. We'll just take one question from the chat and maybe do one last one if someone who has their hand raised. So Yedi says, one of the challenges of the education system in Nigeria is the inaction of governments in implementing established policies. How do you think social actors can prepare for that outcome and possibly surmount it?
Say that again.
So he says one of the challenges of the education system in Nigeria is the inaction of governments in implementing already established policy. So there's a law, there's a policy around it, but nobody's acting on it. So he's asking, how do you think social sector actors can prepare and possibly surmount that challenge?
So I think that, and this is my my theory around it. I think let me start from what is my suspicion about when we think about how people shape society. I think for many of us, we assume eloquence, education is the same thing, understanding how to build nations. And so we have saddled people with the responsibility that they can't even handle. And I say that because if you think about how organizations or countries in different parts of the world, I'll take a simple one so you understand it very well. So for those who are American citizens in this call, or those who have American passport, if you take an American passport in itself and just open it, flip to the pages of the American passport, they started from indoctrination of their people. So they will say that with this passport, the world is yours. In fact, for those who have, you will see that even the folder that holds the passport for those the American passport will say, with this passport, the world is yours. That's indoctrination. They understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to communicate something really powerful. In Nigerian passport, what you will see is that in case this thing happens, the federal government of Nigeria, something simple, they don't, because we don't understand it. We think we know, and we have indirectly called some people technocrats. I hate that word technocrats. It's so annoying. When people say technocrat, it is true, it exists, but the word that used to exist before, they didn't have to call themselves technocrat, but they created a word that worked for all of us, right? They created a system where if you wanted to build your home, everybody would build with you. They created a system where in the old farms, if you don't have money, you must leave some of your product on the farm so that those who don't have come and take it. That is a system at play. What I'm saying is this: if you think about where the world is now and where the government, when we keep blaming governments, they actually don't know. We think they do, but they don't know. The people who shape society are those who are very intentional about how they are building, because they understand how they know the system they're trying to create. And you would see it. So when I made that example that if you look at an American passport or other passport of the world, you will see that there's an indoctrination they are giving their people, because they are saying you are special because you're an American. I'm not sure we are getting that kind of indoctrination. So when I'm saying that, I say that in the sense that for many of you that you're saying that they created a law system, they actually don't understand it, because they think they do, but they don't understand it. And so how do we make that happen? First is to begin to help for them to understand the implication of their action, their inaction. I don't think people understand the consequences. I think people don't understand the consequences of what they do. If sometimes you see the government say certain things, like today, you look at the energy crisis in Nigeria. Why people are talking about energy for the future, and they're talking about renewable energy, and I think about climate change. We used to think about climate change, by the way, just because the practices that we have in Africa, some of them actually showed that we cared about the earth, right? We cared about our farm. They had this system, but with the education, we assume that the system that those guys did, because they didn't go to Harvard, or they didn't go to Lagos Business School, or they didn't go to, we think they don't know what they are doing. But they created a system that allowed the earth, their farm, to replenish itself. That's the system of climate change. So what you would see is that the system that we have created for the government itself don't even understand the implication, and so they take it with levity. So we're talking about energy crisis today, but we are trying to say, want to make fuel available to everybody, but people are thinking about climate change. So I want to stop now because I know our time is far gone, but I think the point is we can't leave this thing to people that can't even solve our problem. We need to identify what we're trying to solve before we even think about bringing those things to fore. But I think hello, I think that you're smiling. I know the time is up, so let me just stop here.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We have one more question. It's from Abbas, and after that, we'll close it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for giving me the opportunity. And my own is not a question, but a concern, and maybe a partnership or a collaborative thing between my organization. My boss, I work for Rensi Dancer Safe Foundation in Northeast Nigeria, Bauchi State. We work in HIV and AIDS prevalence, education, health, and empowerment. But the basic thing now is about the HIV prevalence in one of the LGUs in Bauchi State, the Fire Balewa. HIV prevalence there is very high. And we're looking at a situation where maybe ACT Foundation can assist us maybe with IEC materials, or maybe probably training and anything, or maybe a sort of collaboration where we can come together and see how these clients can, the people there can get a better understanding, and also see how they can reduce the transmission of the virus. And also the youth there, they live reckless lives. So we're looking at a situation where ACT Foundation can assist maybe with IC materials, trainings, workshops, talk shows, or maybe with condoms, anything. Just for us to mitigate. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Abbas. We hear you. So our grant cycle typically opens around September. So just keep your eyes peeled and send us an application. We'll be glad to read it and get back to you on that. Thank you so much, Wale and Bukola, for making time out to share with us such insights on systemic change, and not just systemic change, but doing it practically, and also offering your support even after now, so that other organizations can get in touch with you. We appreciate you so much, and we'll be calling on you sometime soon. Thank you. So right now we'll be taking a short poll. We'll be taking a short poll just to know how the session has been, where you're joining us from. So if you could please just take the poll when it comes up on your screen. Please let me know if you can see it. Okay, someone says they can't see it. Let me check that quickly.
I think it just popped up for a few seconds and went off. So.
Okay, let me work on that. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Please take the poll. How many people? So only 11 people have completed the poll. We have 124 people. Let's do it. Thank you. We have 38. Let's get this up to 60 and we'll wrap this up. Thank you. Thank you to those who have completed it. We are 55, we're almost there. 30 seconds, and we close it. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. So I'm just going to share the results quickly and see. Thank you. Thank you so much. I had a bit of a technical glitch there. So I see that about 87% of our participants are joining from Nigeria. Thank you so much. So the remaining 13% who joined from the rest of Africa, we're really grateful to have you, and we hope that you would join subsequent sessions that we have. You see that we have a large percentage of people who are working in non-profit space. Thank you so much. And so we know that this is relevant to the work that you do. Thank you to the different teams who have joined, team programs, IT monitoring and evaluation, finance and communications, who are very well represented in the audience today. And that's interesting. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We'll be going straight into our closing remarks, and then we would close our session. But also, we have a post-assessment survey. It's going to come up at the end of the meeting. So when you close your app, you see a survey. So please help us take the survey, and that would help us know how beneficial this has been for you, and also help us rate ourselves and know where to improve in subsequent sessions. So I'll be calling on my colleague, Abiodun, to take the closing remark.
Thank you very much, Elo. On behalf of the CEO and the entire ACT Foundation team, I'd like to say a very big thank you to our speaker, Mr. Wale Ajiboye of change.org. For the benefit of our participants, this meeting is not just an ACT Foundation event, it's been in partnership with change.org. And Wale Ajiboye has been very graceful with helping us on this. We are very, very privileged to learn from the decades of experience that you have in the systemic change and advocacy space. And we're glad that you have offered to make this a more constant event. I would also like to say a very big thank you to all of our participants. This wouldn't have been a success without your participation. So a lot of insights have been shared here. We're hoping that few months, few years down the line, we'll begin to see the desired systemic change. We'll begin to make more intentional interventions, and then we'll build new narratives for Nigeria and build, in fact, more new narratives for Africa. So please do fill the assessment that will come up shortly. It will help us make our sessions more relevant to you in future. Thanks once again for coming, and have a great weekend. Elo, over to you.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Finally, it's good to see Osai, the masquerade behind the scene. All right, well done, guys. Right. Oh,
thank you, Taro.
How are you?
You joined late. You would have seen Osai earlier. You joined late.
Hey, forgive me.
Good to see you, Taro.
Nice work, guys.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we're doing good. Good. And thanks, Wale.
Good.
Is he still there? Thanks, Wale. Thank you so much. That was quite insightful.
Thank you. I think he's dropped off now. Take care.
All right, later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation is a grant-making organization established in 2016 to support local, national, and regional nonprofit organizations working to address challenges and related vulnerabilities across Africa. Our vision: to leverage relationships to create effective social impact solutions across Africa. Our mission: to build sustainable societies by engaging initiatives that unleash potentials and empower beneficiaries. ACT Foundation supports sustainable, high-impact initiatives that provide innovative solutions to social, economic, and environmental challenges in Africa. In our 4-year journey, we have funded 75 organizations across 800 African communities. Over 1.9 million people provided with critical interventions in the following 4 focus areas: health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. From 36 health interventions, we have impacted 328,283 plus people. The Foundation's work is in line with the Goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which is geared towards facilitating better healthcare services and outcomes for the underdeserved and low-income groups in communities across Africa. Our health interventions through our implementing partners are focused on cancer, maternal and child health, malaria. In the areas of entrepreneurship, from 28 interventions, we have impacted 17,015 plus people. Working directly with Sustainable Development Goal 1, No Poverty, and Goal 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth. To achieve this goal, the Foundation supports initiatives in the following areas: vocational skills acquisition, financial inclusion and literacy education. In the areas of environment, from 12 interventions, we have impacted 47,833 plus people. We are focused on providing innovative solutions for waste management. We have created awareness on waste management, waste upcycling, recycling, and disposal. In the end, the Foundation aims to reduce the effect of improper waste management in communities across the region and encourage the reuse of certain waste materials. Another area supported by the Foundation concerning the environment is the promotion of clean water and sanitation. In the areas of leadership, from 16 interventions, we have impacted 1,525,353 plus people. We are continuously developing the leadership skills of individuals, particularly young people, for governance, economic, organizational, and professional development. To achieve this, the Foundation partners with organizations that focus on thought leadership and national development. We have reached 6 African countries. We contribute to capacity development within the non-profit and impact space and have conducted 30 plus capacity building trainings. 1,700 plus people reached through our annual Breakfast Dialogue multi-stakeholder conference. At ACT Foundation, we believe that together we can make a difference.